Here is something that I'm pretty proud of, not because of the excellence of my craftsmanship, but because of what it will accomplish. If you're at all familiar with these old 60 model trucks, 57 through 60, and it may even be more than that. I don't know what your models have a similar construction on this. But the cab corner, which this is kind of a bad stamp for a replacement, but it's usable. The cab corner, let me get an extra hand here, sits in just like so. And then originally there was a great big inner cab corner, came down from here all the way down and came around and back up, and I don't really know why it was there. If you've got one of these, the odds are pretty high that it's going to have a big old rust hole right down there where all that was. Right down, you know, in this area, there'll be a big rust hole where the two met, because all it was a flat piece of metal that laid down in on the inside of that outer cab corner. Well, I don't need more rust, and I don't need it rusting out in 10 years or so. So what I have done was to cut out the inner cab corner and make what I am affectionately calling an inner cab corner eliminator. Because on the inside of your cab, this went straight down on that inner cab corner, went straight down and made a pocket. It was hollow from the inner cab corner all the way up to the inside of the cab. So I built this, and I may put some measurements up later if you want to build one, if you're working on something like this. It's really not too hard to do, surprisingly. And this is the piece that goes over, because it needs to come all the way over to the almost to the frame rail, where it can then lay flat, and you can weld that in, and then whatever gap is left you can seam seal and have a sealed up cab. I suppose that there's a little bit of strength with the original shape of the cab corner, of that inner cab corner. The difference between that and what I've got going on here is going to be so minor that it won't be noticeable. And honestly, I'm not sure that mine won't be stronger, because mine won't have as much leverage against it, and I'm using a little bit thicker metal. I'm going to weld it front and rear, side to side. It's going to, if I can run a bead all the way across everything, it'll have that, except on the outer cab corner where it's going to show, because I don't want to have a rippled metal from welding a bead. But it's going to definitely be welded, and I think that it'll work just great, and then I won't have to worry about rust building up down there. It'll just be open from the outside cab corner. There won't be anything on the inside to catch dirt, water, rust. Originally, the fuel tank sat right above it. You can look right down through the fuel tank hole all the way to the ground now, because I've got the cab corners cut out. See, that's where my eliminator is going to go. And so originally, and if you're still using the original fuel tank setup, you're going to have it too. If you have any kind of a leak in your filler nozzle here, if you have any, or filler hose, yeah. If you have any kind of a leak there, any kind of a leak at the tank, any condensation, it's all going to run right down into those lower inner cab corners. And congratulations, you've got a rust trap. I'm not going to have the original tank, so it doesn't matter so much for me, but on that part. But it still is going to get condensation if if I was to leave that there. It's going to get moisture. It's right down in front of the rear tire. It's going to have to get some moisture, because it's going to get splashed all the time, and the heat difference from inside to outside, it just can't possibly be a good idea. I don't know why. I don't know why it was ever built that way. I understand the wide cab corners, because that big cab corner here, the step side was still a real popular option at the time, so they built this wide cab corner so they didn't have to build two cabs. The step side would have, instead of coming out flush to the edge of the bed, it would have sat right about there with the edge of the cab rather, but the edge of the bed would have sat right about there, and And that way they had that whole big gap there that the step side would have had that the fleet side wouldn't have filled in. But I don't have a step side. I do kind of like the big cab corner though. It's just kind of one of those quirks of the year model that I like, but oh well. Anyway, thought you might be interested in seeing that. I'm going to go in and tinker on the bed a little bit and weld up a little bit on the tailgate. So thanks for watching.